प्रेम से समापति महादेव की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय. Let us all stand together as we are about to now join in Devi Arati. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. निषिदना तुमको ध्यावत हरि ब्रह्मा शिव जी. निषिदना तुमको ध्यावत हरि ब्रह्मा शिव जी. जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. 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 ओम धूम दुर्गाय नमः. Glories to Devi Mata. मांग सिंदूर विराजत देखो मृद मद को. ओ मांग सिंदूर विराजत देखो मृद मद को. उज्ज्वल से दौनैना चंद्र वदननी बोले. जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. ओ मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. जय अम्बे माँ हरि. कनक समान कलेवर रक्तांबर राजे. हो कनक समान कलेवर रक्तांबर राजे. रत्न पुष्प गलमाला कंताहार साजे. जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. ओ मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. शुंभ निशुंभ विधारे महिषासुर गाती. हो शुंभ निशुंभ विधारे महिषासुर गाती. तुम्र विलोचन नैना निषेधन मद मात बोले. अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. ओ मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. जय अम्बे. ब्रह्मानी रुद्रानी तुम कमला रानी. ओ ब्रह्मानी रुद्रानी तुम कमला रानी. आगम निगम बकानी तुम शिव पचरानी. जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. ओ मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी. ओम धूम दुर्गाय नमः. Glories to Ambe. 64 युगने गावत नृत्य करत भैरो 64 युगने गावत नृत्य करत भैरो बजतता मृदंगार बाजत के डमरू जय अम्बे गौरी मैया जय श्यामा गौरी ओ मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया जय श्यामा गौरी दुर्गा माता नमो नमो अम्बा देवी नमो नमो 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 श्री नमो नमो देवी नमो नमो अम्बा नमो 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 जगदम्बा देवी माता की जय आसन लीजिए सब लोग Let us all take our seats. As we begin this beautiful night, my dear friends, special welcome, cordial welcome to each and every one. Namaskar. We welcome all to this beautiful mandir where tonight, once more on this second night of our beautiful Yagna, and this night in which we take a moment to worship Devi Mata, we praise Adi Shakti Jagadamba Devi. Last night, as we had mentioned to those who are here, how beautiful we sit in front of Shri Parashakti Mata, and how blessed are we. To begin this night, to the members of the Celestial Gandarvas, special welcome to them. To my Bhaiji, Pundit Randi, Namaskar Bhai, once more, for being here to join with us. To my wonderful mother who's here. To all those who've come from far and near to join with us, a special blessing of Devi Mata upon your lives and your families. To those who are tuned in via Facebook, wherever you are tuning in, may the Devi continue to bless you. And to all those who are locked on via 103.1 FM, special blessings to all. Once more to all the devotees of the various mandirs who are here. Once more Bhai Rishi, Veera. Once more special blessing to you and to all the devotees of your wonderful mandir. Tonight, Bhaktas, without further ado, let us all sit upright. Let us close our eyes. Let us forget the world and let us pray to the Devi, Shri Jagadamba Mata. As we begin with our Omkara 3 times. Om. वक्रतुंड महाकाया सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा या देवी सर्वभूतेषु दुर्गा रूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु सरस्वती रूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः नमस्तस्यै नमो नमः जयन्ते मंगला काले भद्रकाले कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवदात्रे स्वाहा स्वधा नमोस्तुते रूपं देहे जायं देहे यशो देहि यशो देहि रूपं देहे जायं देहे यशो देहि यशो देहि ॐ दुं दुर्गाय नमः ॐ दुं दुर्गाय नमः ॐ दुं दुर्गाय नमः नमस्ते शारदे देवी काश्मीरपुरवासिनी त्वामहं प्रार्थये नित्यं नित्यं दानं च देहि मे यश्रद्धा धारणा मेधा वाग्देवी विद्यावल्लभा भक्ति जीवग्र साधना समाधि गुणदायिनी समाधि गुणदायिनी न तातो न माता न बन्धुर्न दाता न पुत्रो न पुत्रे न भृत्यो न भर्ता न जाया न विद्या न वृत्तैर्ममेव घटिस्त्वं घटिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी घटिस्त्वं घटिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी भवाब्दावपारे महादुःखभीरो प्रपाट प्रकामी प्रलोभी प्रमट्टः कुसंसारपाश प्रबद्धा सदाहं घटिस्त्वं घटिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी ॐ दुं दुर्गाय नमः ॐ दुं दुर्गाय नमः ॐ दुं दुर्गाय नमः. As we begin this beautiful night, today it's Mangalvar. Pranams, adorations to Pavanaputra Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Surha Varna Raghuvara Vimala Jasu Jodaya Kupalacha Buddhi Nattanu Janike Sumirao Pavana Kumar Bala Buddhi Vidya Deho Mohi Aru Kalesha Vikan Pavana Sudha Hanuman ki Jai Bajrang Bali ki हनुमते नमः। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर, जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर। रामदूत तुलित बलरामा, अंजन पुत्र पवन सुत नामा। महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी, कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी। कंचन वरण विराज सुवेशा, कानन कुंडल कुंचित महावीर बलवंता, महावीर बलवंता। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंता, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। वज्र और ध्वजा विराजय, कांधे मोंज जनेऊ साज। शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन, तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन। विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर, राम काज करबे को आतुर। प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया, राम लखन सीता मन बस। महावीर बलवंत, महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। ओम श्री हनुमते नमः। सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा, विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा। भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे, रामचंद्र के काज सवारे। लाए सजीवन लखन जियाए, श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए। रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई। महावीर बलवंत, महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। जय बजरंगबली। सहस बदन तुम रोज सगावे, हस गए श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। कनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद शारद सहित ईसा। यम कुबेर दिगपाल जाते, कवि कोविद कह सके कहाते। तुम पुकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा, राम मिलाय राज पर दीन्हा। महावीर बलवंत, महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। All glories to Mahavir Swami. तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जान। युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, लील्युताहि मधुर फल जानू। प्रभु मोद्र का मिल मुख माही, जल दिलांगी गय चर जनाई। दुर्गम का जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तिथे। महावीर बलवंत, महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। जय श्री राम। राम द्वारे तुम रखवारे, उतना आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे। सब सुकला है तुम्हारे शरणा, रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन तेज समारो आपै, तीनहु लोक हांकते कापै। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। महावीर बलवंत, महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। नासै रोग हरै सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावै, मरम वचन ध्यान जो लावै। तब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावै, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावै। महावीर बलवंत, महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत, पवन पुत्र हनुमान। जय श्री राम। चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट श्री नवनिधि के दाता असबर दीन जान के माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दस महावीर बलवंत महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत पवन पुत्र हनुमान। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित नदर हनुमत से सर्व सुख करहि। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिर हनुमत बलबीर महावीर बलवंत महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत पवन पुत्र हनुमान। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई। कृपा करहु गुरु देवकी नाय। यो शत बार पाठ कर कोई युत ही बंदे महासुत होई। जो यहाँ पर हनुमान चालीसा हुई सिद्धि साके गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदारि तेरा श्री जयनाथ हृदय महाधीरा महावीर बलवंत महावीर बलवंत। जय हनुमान महावीर बलवंत पवन पुत्र हनुमान। 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 पवन पुत्र हनुमान पवन पुत्र हनुमान पवन पुत्र हनुमान पवन पुत्र हनुमान। पवन तनय संकट हरणम मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसहो सुरभो। पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। As we begin this beautiful night, my friends, at worship to the Divine Mother, she is called by many names and many forms. In our scripture, in Devi Bhagavatam tonight, Devi Mata, just like Bhagwan Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavatam, we've often heard the beautiful voices of the Divine Lord, Bhagwan Krishna, simply saying, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, abhyutanam dharmasya taratmanam shajamyaham. Which means what? Lord Krishna says, whenever there's a decline in righteousness, He guarantees to come in the world, change His form according to the day and the time and the medium, and save the world. That is why Lord Vishnu has Dasha Avatar, 10 forms in which He manifested. One of the popular forms that we know is Lord Ram and Bhagwan Krishna, the second. Tonight, in Devi Bhagavatam, Devi says that whenever there's a decline in righteousness, even she says, I will come to re-establish. In her own words and in her own verses, she shows the world that when we take time to sacrifice, to pray, to do yajna, to do worship, and to once more pay salutations to her divine form, she will come and she will bless us. But tonight, as we're about to join in the golden pages of our scripture, we join in a very powerful and a beautiful katha. But remember, today is also Mangalvar. Let us start with the chants of Mahavir Swami. Have you ever seen a picture of Durga Devi? And on that same picture you see Hanuman Baba on his side. And next to that you see Kal Bhairava. They are all connected. And while we praise Mahavir Swami, it is said Devi Mata feels even more happy. Because even she relates to the beautiful avatar of Lord Shiva. Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Balavantam Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Balavantam Vande Santam Hanumantam. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki. We sing for Lord tonight. Vande Santam Hanumantam Vande Santam Hanumantam Vande Santam Hanumantam Vande Santam Hanumantam Rama Bhaktam Balavantam Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam. Om Shri Hanumate Namaha. Jnana Pandita Anjana Tanaya Jnana Pandita Jnana Pandita Jnana Pandita Anjana Tanaya Pavana Putram Bhaskar Tejam Pavana Putram Bhaskar Tejam Bhaskar Tejam Bhaskar Tejam Vande Santam Hanumantam Vande Santam Hanumantam. Jai Bajrang Bali. Tonight everybody all together, Boli, Hari. Vayudeva, 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 Vayudeva. Vayudeva, Vanaravira, Sachidananda, Sachidananda, Pranadeva, Sachidananda, Pranadeva, 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 Vande Santam Hanumantam, Vande Santam Hanumantam. Vande Santam Hanumantam 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 Baba Hanumantam 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 Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Rama Bhaktam Balavantam Vande Santam Hanumantam. Pavana Sudha Hanuman ki Bajrangabali ki Jai. Tonight as you join in the golden pages of Devi Bhagavatam, it is said Devi Mata shows the world one of her powerful forms, and once more she shows the world how to worship her in that most appropriate way. As we start our Katha, let us begin firstly by reality of the world. When we speak about reality of this world, very simple. It is said about 700 years ago. That's not far, right? That's really. 700 years ago, there was one Pundit by the name of Sridhara. This Pundit one day, as Brahmana, a holy being, a divine person, he would sit to pray to God in all different forms. Not just Devi Mata, all the different forms. But while he will sit to pray, he prays for a better life. In those days, 700 years ago, he would sit down and have nothing to eat. It is said nobody respected Pandits that time too much. They were Brahmanas, they were sadhus, but they would have to fend for themselves. Today we understand the importance of a guru in our life. And then that is how we know how to put the guru on that pedestal for standing to protect us and to guide us. But long ago, not too many people understood the importance of Pandits, Swamis, Sadhus, a guru. If somebody were to see a Pandit walking by, they say, move from here, go so. You go do a Pandit that? Do me that now? Today when you go to India and you go to Rishikesh and Haridwar, those are two spots where the Ganga flows. There are hundreds and hundreds of Swamis and Sadhus walking by. But Shankar Bholenath says in Kailash Parvat that 90% of the Pandits you will see there are fake Pandits. Yeah, I didn't say that. Lord Shiva says 90% of the Pandits and the Sadhus that you see there, they are termed to be the hypocrites. Why? And if you go, you see for yourself. They are walking and they have 3 chandan on your forehead. They have probably just a shawl and a loincloth. They have chandan in their arms. They have about 15 malas on their neck. When you see them, for any one of us, if you go India and you see one of them, you're going to say, "Way boy, that is a real Swami." And they're walking on the streets. And they do not even take one moment to pray. Bhagwan Shiva says, you are seeing fanatics in the world. You see sadhus with the long malas and all the chandan and everything. And when you walk up to them, all they will do, "Bhaiya, paisa de do na." And if you say, "I have no paisa," I will shrap you if you don't give me something. That's how they speak. Why? Because they are only fanatics. They're just waiting there to beg, to get money. When you walk in Varanasi, if we go as Trinidadians or we take the opportunity to go to India, we want to see Sadhu and Pandit and we want to respect them and love them and say, "Wow, we're going to get so more blessings." But when you see hundreds of them walking and you just stand and look, you're going to see their own Hindu brothers and sisters. As soon as a sadhu comes, they, "Hey, jao, go from here, go beg somewhere else." And they run you. Why? Because they know who's real and who's not. That is why when you go to the ashrams, you will see probably one saint or one guru, and he will have his followers. And then you will say, "You know what? Something is genuine there." You might even go and say, "You know what? I want to go to where the Ganga flows and I want to feed all these Pandits and all these sadhus." No problem. It's very good to feed people. But if you're thinking that you're feeding Pandits and sadhus to get uplifted, Jai Bhagwan, you're wrong. They are only the fanatics of the world. And I don't say to criticize, but our Katha today says that while this Pandit Sridhara, while he sits to pray, he's not even treated with any form of respect as a Pandit. People pass and see him, and if he says, "Can you give me something to eat?" "Arey, jao na, go from here." They run him. He has nothing to eat. His life is not stepping up. Things are not going good for him. Today, people have also forgotten how they should treat their guru and respect them. When I was growing up, I remember going to one of my guru. To those who are here, I know there are few people I see who probably would remember one of my gurus. He used to live in Woodland. Naresh knows. And I remember when you would go there, you don't have to say anything, but because you have so much respect to him, for him, the minute you walk up there and he's probably picking his flowers to make his offerings or do his prayers, you look around and you say, "Guruji, do you have the broom? Give me the broom." That's it. You start to sweep. You go into the mandir and something is probably not in an order, you just walk in and you do what you must. You fix it. You prepare something. You see Guruji is sitting all the time and he's always uncomfortable and he's always moving and maybe his back is hurting. Automatically you know my guru is not comfortable. "Guruji, do you want a proper chair? Is something wrong with that chair? Let's do something." How you take care of the guru, how you take care of the preceptors, the pandits, the sadhus. You know, when the pandits alone just smile back at you, that's a blessing just falling in your life. Miracles happen. It's good things coming on your path. Today, this guru sees nothing like that. People are running him and he sits down now and he says, "I go to the mandir regularly." He looks at all the gods, no particular one. "I go to the mandirs regularly. I pray regularly. I offer prasad, wherever little I get from the streets, I pick up, or I pick up from the gardens of people's place, and I offer it." And he starts to question now, and he's walking. So if you can see all the murtis like this coming this way, then just picture, he goes to the mandir, and he starts, "Bhagwan Krishna, why am I living like this? And then he goes to Hanuman Baba, but Swami, why am I living like this? Why am I having hard times? And he goes now to Lord Vishnu, Prabhu Vishnu Bhagavan, what kind of life is this? And he goes to Shankar Bholenath, but Prabhu, I suffer so much. Why am I praying and nothing is working out? And then suddenly he reaches Devi. And when he sits by Devi, he sits down at the feet of Devi. And he says, Devi, I think as a child now before you, I can only ask you, why am I suffering in the world? Why is my life upside down? Why is it that I am having nothing going my way? Is there any shortcoming in my life? If you're doing any special worship for Naratam or any festival, and things don't go the way you want it to go, what do? How do you think? How do we naturally think? You know how we think? The Baba do something wrong. Instead of questioning, what did I do wrong? Recently, in experience, I have been looking, because it is up to the Guru and the Pundits to observe, right? So I'm looking at how, and I'm trying to analyze from all the kathas night after night, we in some yajna reading and understanding. There's so many people who come out and say, we sit in the yajna, we pray, we clap, I offer parsad, I offer jal, I do so much jap and so many devotion, but yet I'm seeing so much problem, you know. Pandit came home and he said, when you do Durga Devi Puja, everything will turn around, but I don't know, nothing turn around. So I don't know, the Pandit do something wrong. And we have the mentality, people have the mentality that we never pick up for what we would do wrong, but we always need to blame somebody. We always have to find somebody to say, is he? It's because of this. It is because of that. We are always looking for somebody or something or some situation to blame. When in turn, in analyzing people's lives, I've understood, you know, like we have the saying, it is not what you say, but how you say it. It is not what you give, but how you give it sometimes. So sometimes you say, but you know, but I do a big, nice puja. And then we as the Pandit sit down and say, well, okay, you have the one Tariya Parsad here. Okay, bow, offer Parsad. What again? It is how you do your prayer. Everything counts. I wouldn't say I have a video of that. I said I wanted to video that. And while Papa was doing his puja, he said, oh, you like how I'm doing the prayers? And I said, no. Because when it was time to offer parsad, just grab and throw it. Anything else, just put it there. And then in the end, if the prayers don't work, Baba do something wrong. It is how you fast. It is how you think. It is how you do your devotion. People are upset for the whole day. Nothing went good. The food didn't come in time. The roti come out hard. This one didn't bring the ice. Everything went wrong and you sit down to prayer, but your mind is not there. Your mind is agitated and you do your prayers and you had everything for the puja, but your mind was everywhere. And when you don't see results, we blame somebody. When it is you and your mind that has been upset for the whole prayers. Prayers is about sitting, forgetting the world, relaxing the mind and thanking God. Lord, thank you. This is for you, Prabhu. Take this. I'm offering this to you. This is for you, Prabhu. I'm offering it with love. Even recently, I hear devotees saying, we now throw dar. Imagine Bhagwan throw back the dar at you. We offer dar. We make offerings to God. And an offering, it's called an arpan. It must be given with love. It is like feeding a child when you're giving food. It is like feeding the fire Agni Dev when you make the offerings. You don't just take it and you throw it because you're scared of the heat, but you make offerings and you're offering to God. A way of life. Hinduism, our culture, our devotion, our prayer. Devi Mata teaches us that everything we get back is because of the way we live. And the way we live, not just with people, but in prayer and how we make offerings to God. It is not how much you could give, but how you give the offering and how you worship the deities. Today, this Pandit sits and he's wondering, but why isn't anything working for me? And while he sits to question, he decides now that, you know what? I will turn to Mahadev and I will question Mahadev and I will see what will work out now. Listen tonight. तेरे कैलाशों का अंत न पाया तेरे कैलाशों का अंत न पाया, अंत पे अंत तेरी माया। ओ बोले बाबा अंत पे अंत तेरी माया। शिव कैलाशों के वासी, धौलेधारों के राजा, शंकर संकट हरना। ओ बोले बाबा शंकर संकट हरना। बेल की पटिया भांग डटोरा, बेल की पटिया भांग डटोरा, शिव जी के मन को लुभाई। ओ बोले बाबा शिव जी के मन को लुभाई। शिव कैलाशों के वासी, धौलेधारों के राजा, शंकर संकट हरना। ओ बोले बाबा शंकर संकट हरना। एका का धेरा तेरा चंबेरे चौगाना, एका का धेरा तेरा चंबेरे चौगाना। दूजा लाई दीती भर भोरा, ओ बोले बाबा दूजा लाई दीती भर मोरा। शिव कैलाशों के वासी, धौलेधारों के राजा, शंकर संकट हरना। ओ बोले बाबा शंकर संकट हरना। ओ बोले बाबा शंकर संकट हरना। बेल की पतिया भांग दतूरा, बेल की पटिया भांग गतूरा, शिव जी के मन को लुभाई। वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की, उमापति महादेव की जय। Do you all know what is datur? Anybody knows the datur, the flower? Knowing the datur, do you all know what is the bhang? What is bhang? Huh? Milk and what? Natano Milo in it, you know. Bel ki patya bhang datura. In Trinidad, when they make that, how do they call it here? Local terms. Naresh to do like you don't know. They call it joy juice. Yeah. All the young people don't even bother to ask about it. Just forget that right there. Tonight, the Pundit sits down by Lord Shiva. He sits down by Devi and he says, you know what, my life doesn't go well at all. I don't know why. Why doesn't my life go well? I'm praying, I'm making offerings. But the mentality, when you pray, you must always pray without expecting and having thoughts in your mind. Just pray. Let it be. Bhagwan will make things happen. Everything that happens in life will happen for a reason. Only years after, then you will see why. And you will say, oh, you know what? I know this was beginning to happen. Katha tells us today that when the Pandit sits down, Devi Ma, she sits in the skies and she looks down at him and she says, okay, Let me test him to see if he really wants my blessing. He's complaining. This not working out, that is not working out, life is not going good for him. Okay, let me test him. 3 Devis combined together to manifest one child. Who are these Devis? It is said the Devi in the form of Shri Kali Mata, the Devi in the form of Lakshmi Maya, and the Devi in the form of Saraswati Devi. They combine their energies together, and as they combine themselves together, out of the light and the divinity of these 3 goddesses, a child takes a birth, a manifestation in the skies. When the child takes the manifestation, it is at that time now, Devi is all together. They say to the child, I want you to go down to the earth, and I want you to take birth on the earth. That day, the Pundit was passing by. He was walking in the mountains. He was about to do his devotion. He was looking for a spot to sit down. And this child that was manifested, this girl, baby girl that was manifested, it is said Devi Mata allowed this child to be on top of one of the mountains, just between the 3 main mountains in Bangladesh. The child was there, the Pandit was passing, suddenly he hears the child crying. When he hears the child crying, he decides to find that child. Is anybody there? Kaun hai? Who's around? I'm hearing a baby crying. Who's there? But nobody was around. Suddenly he saw this child on top of a rock, and the rock was in between the 3 Parvat. And he decided now to pick up this child and to save the life of this child. And knowing that there was nobody around, he says, today, child, it's me and you alone. I will now call you, I will give you a name, and I will call you Trikut. Trikuta, which means between the 3 mountains. It is like the 3 gods that are called Trimurti. Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. When he decides to give this child the name Trikut, he takes his child and he goes back to his little kutia that he has, very small. And when he takes his child there, it is said for about 1 year, he starts now growing this child. With the little that he has, he would now sometimes have nothing to eat, but he will give. The little that he has, he will give. For somebody who barely gets anything for himself, but is sacrificing for a child, do you know how hard your parents sacrifice? Do you know of sacrifice? I know. Many people do. Do you think the young people of today know what is sacrifice? Not at all. Young people of today know nothing about sacrifice. Young people of today think that if they get a little job and they have a little handout and some money is coming, I'm working hard. Young people think today that if father or mother says, listen, go and sweep the yard, they think they need to do it in terms. I'll do quarter today and quarter tomorrow and the next day. Because if I do all, my back will break. People of today are different. Children of today are different. Do young people of today know of hard work? Sometimes sit down with the old people and ask them. Sometimes sit down with the old people and question them. Sometimes when I see some of the elders, I sit down and ask them, can I see your hands? And I look, and I will feel it. And you will feel sometimes where the corns are. Or you look at the skin and you will say, wow. You look at the skin and say, wait, look at the marks. And you say, Mama, where you get this mark from? And she will start off with the story. Well, in the cane field, and she will start. The older people sacrificed. Many of the generation that we see today, the elders, I'm sure majority of you all here tonight, you would have come out of sacrifice, seeing your parents sacrifice, so you have the idea. But the new generation that is to come, everything is handed down. They don't know about sacrifice. Today, this Pandit, he sacrifices to grow this child, and after 1 year, the child starts to walk. The child starts to speak little. And while the child starts to speak very little, the child says to him, she says, Pitaji. And he looks and he says, yes, tell me. Pitaji, listen, I want you to make an arrangement. 5 years from now, you should be making preparations to feed people. That will be a blessing for you. Feed people. And he's saying, but a little child like this, well, you know about feed people. Are you hungry? No, Pitaji, feed people. 5 years from now, feed people. And that day he's not taking on anything, but he lets it be. He goes outside and he leaves the child on the inside. And after the message was given, the child literally disappears. Incarnation of Devi Mata. The child disappears. He comes back, there's no child. He searched everywhere, no child. This was not his by birth. So when he sees that the child is missing, he looks and he looks everywhere. He couldn't see the child, no problem. He sits, he cries, he grieves, he mourns. And then he says, well, probably, I don't know. Life has to go on. When somebody dies in our life, when we lose someone important, a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a friend, how long are you supposed to grieve for? Life must continue. 1 year. That is why you have a 1 year. To grieve and to miss and to hurt. And if we decide that after 1 year you still want to sit down and think and say, well, you know what? I still miss him, I still miss her. Nobody could tell me anything otherwise. Then from your mind perspective, you're keeping back yourself now. You're keeping back the progress of your mentality and your life. We need to start moving further. Katha says, the child disappears, but where does the child go? Back to the skies. Katha tells us now. It is said that while in our message, this child disappears, the 5 years are about to roll around. And while the 5 years is about to roll around, suddenly now, the Brahmana, the Pandit, he still doesn't have anything. He remembers the words that this little child had said. He was passing by and he saw a yajna taking place, and that yajna was on the 8th night of the Navratri. What happens on the 8th night? The 8th night is auspicious to do what? Yeah, we did it last night. The Kanya Puja. Worship the 9 little girls. But you know what? Where he was passing, there was not 9 little girls. There were 6. That's all they had. So he stopped and he looked and he saw 6 little girls. He walked up to do the puja, because you have to do puja for all of them. And he walked up and he decided, now let me do the prayers. How do you worship the 9 kanyas who represent the Devi? Wash the feet. You dry the feet. You give them chandan. You give them essence. You take some prasad, you feed them. You take a mala if you have a mala. You start dressing them up if you put a crown, a shawl, an orni, whatever it may be. You dress them up nice. You give them gifts. You give them toys. You give them things to eat. You make them happy. You give them dachana. He didn't have any dachana, but he gave what he saw they had in the mandir. But lo and behold, listen. While there were 6 of them, when he reached the last one and the 6th one, all of a sudden we saw a little girl coming in a distance, and this girl looking like she's glowing. And he looked at all the members of the mandir. Do you all know this other one? Who is this child coming? Tell her, come quick. And everybody looked. We don't know her. But you know what? We're supposed to have 9 and we have 6, so 1 more is fine. Come, Baituna. And she sits next to the 6. And he goes and he starts to wash the feet. And while he's washing the feet, he can feel an energy. The mantra we sang earlier, na tato na mata, na bandur na data, na putro na putre, na bretyo na bharata, na jaya na vidya, na vrte mameva. And he prostrated, Gatistvam, Gatistvam, Tvameka Bhavani, Gatistvam, Gatistvam, Tvameka Bhavani. And he worshipped the 7th child. And he saw her glowing. And when he looked at her face, he sees her glow. He says, I wonder if this is the child that I knew. But anyhow, and he continues his worship. And when he's about to finish, this child looks at him and says, Papa, aren't you going to feed people? And he stopped for a second and he remembered the child. He says, Kaun ho tum? Naam kya hai? The child didn't say anything. He turned around. Did anybody hear his child? And he looked the other side. Does anybody hear his child? And when he looked back, there's no child. Did anybody even see the child? This part of the katha is real 700 years ago. This Pandit sat down there and there was no child. But he did full puja. And the child disappeared, and in his mind he said, you know what? A baby came once out of nowhere, told me to feed people. 5 years after, a child comes glowing and tells me, feed people. You know what? I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to feed people. How much money I have? None. But I'm going to feed people. That day he decided to go and beg. So he went to a few homes and he started to beg, and he got little. And he came home and he looked at the little dakshana, the money that he had, and he said, well, this child told me to feed people, but I don't know how much people I could feed with this. Maybe I could go to the market, I could buy a little bit of grains, and I could just probably feed about 25 people, maybe 30 people, I don't know. So let me see. I will invite, there's a king living down there. There's one guru living up on the hill, he have an ashram. There's a next guru on the other side. These are some householders who gave me some money, I will invite them. And he starts to check it up now. Okay. But you know, this child told me to feed as much people as I can. But I only count about 25 people. I wish I could feed so much people, but I could only feed this little amount. And his mind beats him. So he decides to go and do the invitation. He's about to invite people. While he's going to invite people, he goes to one home. He invites them. He goes to a second. He invites them. And then he reaches a guru's ashram. When he walks in the guru's ashram, the guru is sitting and he's praying to Lord Shiva. And while he's praying to Mahadev, the Pandit stops for a second to wait for him to complete his devotion. And he's looking on. And while he's waiting, the guru is singing for Mahadev. Bambola Shiva Shankar Kailash ke Vasi Kailash ke Vasi Bambola Shiva Shankar Kailash ke Vasi Kailash ke Vasi Dekho Kaura badan liye saath sate nij daase Dekho Kaura badan liye saath sate nij daase Bambola Shiva Shankar Kailash ke Vasi Kailash ke Vasi Bambola Shiva Shankar Kailash ke Vasi Kailash ke Vasi Dekho Kaura badan liye saath sate nij daase Dekho Kaura badan liye saath sate nij daase Ho It is at this time when he sees the Guru doing devotion, he stands at the front of the ashram, but he says, you know what? It doesn't hurt to go and pray. He walks up to the Murti, the Gurus are chanting, and while the Guru is chanting, he decides to sing along with them. And suddenly, the hands just start moving to pray, and then before you know it, it starts to move, and then gradually now he's clapping. He doesn't realize he's becoming caught up in the devotion. And while he's becoming caught up, he looks at the face of Lord Shiva, and he starts to wonder now, will I be able to feed more people than I'm asking to feed? He starts to think. Nande Vail Para Baiti Shambhu, Avinashi, Avinashi. Bambola. Nande Vail Para Baiti Shambhu, Avinashi, Shambhu, Avinashi. Damru Bajawat Daya Punja Sukaraji. Damru Bajawat Daya Punja Sukaraji. Bambola Shiva Shankar Kailash ke Vasi Kailash ke Vasi Bambola Shiva Shankar Kailash ke Vasi Kailash ke Vasi Dekho Gaura Badan liye saath sate nij daase Dekho Gaura Badan liye saath sate nij daase He sees a sadhu of the ashram, the Swami, doing prayer, and he says it doesn't hurt to pray. Let me go pray also. This Pandit goes to the altar, he says a prayer, and as soon as he completes the prayer, he hears the Jai Jaikar. Umapati Mahadeva ki, Kailashwari Shiv Shankar Bhagwan ki. And then he turns to the Swami and he says, Swamiji, pranams. The Swami recognizes him. You're the Pandit from the village, not so? He says, huh? He says, Gurudev, I've come with an invitation. I've decided to feed people. And I've brought this invitation to you. So the Guru looked at him for a second and he said, you? Going to feed people? With what? I know you from the streets and you're walking all over the streets, you're the Pandit. What are you going to feed people with? Where are you going to keep the people? And he stops for a second and he says, in my little kutia. He says, you've come to give me an invitation, and when I come with my 325 students. Jai Sitaram. I come with my 325 students. You come to give me an invitation? Do you want to embarrass yourself? Do you want to feel ashamed? Are you sure you want to give me the invitation? And he looks at the invitation in his hand that he had written. And he wonders, should I? But then he's the guru of the ashram in this whole village. It will look good if I can manage to feed him at least. You know what? We will see what will happen. I give you the invite. His heart tells him that this child that came, and the child from the beginning, must be something that is divine and out of the ordinary, because the child disappeared twice. You know what? I'm going with my conscience. Come. Bring everybody. Come. He goes to another ashram and he sees one Gurudev by the name of Bhairavnath. He says, Gurudev Bhairava, I've come to bring an invitation for you. I am feeding people. You can come tomorrow afternoon. And even that Guru stopped and said, what? You going to do what? Feed? Where? With what? And again he rethinks. And while he's rethinking, he starts to doubt himself. How many of us set out to do goals in our lives sometimes and people keep pulling us back? How many of us feel good? Do you know something? Prabhu says, and I will tell you this is also part of my nature. My mother could tell you that tonight. When you make up your mind and you set yourself to do something, you go 100%. You go all the way. Even if you fall short, leave it in Bhagwan's name. Something will happen. It's fine. A miracle will take place. Let it be. But go 100%. People in today's world, they set their minds and their hearts to goals in which they try to achieve. Expect the world to break you down. Nobody said you will get the bed of roses. People expect it, but when you have expectations, you're set up for failure. Don't expect. Go 100%. And if you fall, you're still with the mentality of, I want the 100%, so let's just keep moving somehow or the other. You don't wait to expect and fall. Keep moving. Today, friends, many people in today's society, we set up our minds for a goal, for an aim. Children today are becoming demoralized mentally. Because as soon as they try to do something and it doesn't work for them, I give up. Remember, Prabhu says in Garu Puran, he says, when you have gone through the cycles of the world, and in the Ashwa world, at some point when you die, you're tormented for the bad things that you did, your bad karma. And when you take a rebirth, your conscience reminds you of what you did bad. So if you're going to do something and your conscience tells you, don't do it, that's your sign right there. Don't do it. But if your conscience feels good, and I feel good about doing this thing, you go right ahead. The gods will bless you. Today, Bhaktas, the Pandit took the invite. His conscience feels good. I am giving you the invite. You don't worry. I am giving you the invite. And he gives the invite, and as soon as he gives the invite, he goes to the other homes, one by one, and he gives, and he gives, and he comes back now. It is afternoon time. The other day is when everybody will come, and he sits down now, and he feels good, and he could smile in himself because he invited people. But where the food now? He's feeling good. I did the invitation. One part is finished. Where is the food coming from? And where will everybody fit? Well, the Guru had 325 students there. Okay. Alright, so let me see what I can make. So he goes in his little space that he has. I can't even see kitchen. He goes in his space. And he picks up the little bit of the items that he bought. And he decides now, I will make something. He takes a container. And he prepares now to start cooking something. And while he's about to prepare, he's wondering in his mind, I wonder if this will work out. Night has dawned where he has cut some of the vegetables that he has. And suddenly now, because he's thinking so much, he dozes away. When he catches himself, morning reach. He wakes up and he sees the sunlight. He says, oh my God, today is the day. Everybody's coming. He's wondering how to prepare everything. Morning is past, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. He says, you know what? I need to get busy. People will start coming. He starts to put up everything together to see what he can make. And while he's trying to think in his mind what to make, he takes everything and puts it in one pot. Like a soup. And he puts everything inside there. And he wonders now how it will taste, how it will come out. But you know what? I will make sure and feed everybody. I will not shame myself today. By the time 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, people are starting to come. He peeps outside. One person there. Another person sitting there. Another one is sitting far away. Another one is on the other side. And he's wondering, okay, yeah, I think we're looking good so far. We go feed them. 5 o'clock in the afternoon come. He's preparing his mind for 6 o'clock. 5 o'clock has come and he's seeing about 20 people. We're going good. Very nice. We will feed everybody. And then 6 o'clock has come and the guru with the 325 people come. Jai Bhagavan. Everybody here, always at some point you have a puja in your house. Or yajna. Randy go know for that. And when you have a puja and you invite people, like we always say in our terminology, it's always better to prepare more than less. You don't know who will come and you will have to feed them. Not so? You will never know who will come and you will have to feed. The surprises will come. You don't know if God will come in different forms. You don't know who will come to surprise you. But you must always be prepared because you don't know what will happen. Today, the Pundit looks and he's seeing everybody. And when he sees the 325 and the Sadhu, the Swami is coming, he says, no way. I can't do this. He turned around and he says, I can't do this. This is trouble. He says, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. So he goes back inside and he's scared to come outside now because he's ashamed. Because when he goes outside, how will he feed anybody? He doesn't know how to feed them. So this is what he does. He goes inside and he decides to lock the door. And he sits by himself and everybody's coming and they're knocking. And the sadhu on the outside calls out, Are Pandit? Aao na. Nobody's coming outside. Listen. He sits down by his little murti and he starts to call out for help. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. Kali Kapalini Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. Kali Kapalini Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. Tonight, if you think in your life things are not going the way it is supposed to be according to how you want it to be, sing tonight for Devi. Beautiful Devi, Shri Durga Mata, made out of the earth. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma. जय जय काली माँ परम शिवानी माँ जय जय काली माँ परम शिवानी माँ जय जय काली माँ परम शिवानी माँ दुर्गा भवानी माँ जय जय अम्बे माँ जय जय चंडिका माँ परम शिवायिनी माँ जय जय चंडिका माँ परम शिवायिनी माँ जय जय चंडिका माँ परम शिवानी माँ दुर्गा भवानी माँ जय जय अम्बे माँ It is said when the Pundit decided to sit and chant for Devi, while he is now looking at the little murti he has and he's praying and he's clapping away. Everybody tonight, bolo. Suddenly now, while he's clapping away, he feels someone touching him on his shoulder. And when he glances, he sees little fingers. And he turned around, and who did he see? This little girl came back. Arey Papa, kya hua? Ut na. What are you doing there? Everybody is waiting for you to feed. And he turned around and he says, you made me call everybody to feed and I don't have anything. And she turned around and she says, look there. There's a container. There's a huge pot. Lift it. Go. Share for everybody. And he sees the pot. He gets up and he says, I can't believe it. Did you put that there? When did you come? Who cooked that? She says, Hare Papa, share na. And he goes and he picks it up. And he takes a spoon. And he opens the door and he walks outside. These swamis are looking outside and they are laughing. Look at him, one pot and he wants to feed everybody. But he starts to feed. And while he starts to feed, he feeds one, he feeds two, he feeds three. And then after feeding the third, he sees the child calling him, come. Papa, listen. I'm going to tell you a secret now. Make it even better than that. Ask anybody who you're about to share food for. Ask anybody what they want to eat. And while you're asking them, you just keep spinning that pot right there. And whatever they ask for, you just close your eyes for a second, think of Devi Mata, and then you take out and you put. So he said, okay. He went back and he asked the first person. And as soon as they requested what they wanted to eat, he dipped inside, he thought of the mother, and when he poured, he realized exactly what they asked for is what was there. He said, but how come? And when he looked, he's still seeing just one mixture. He goes to another person, he asks, what do you want to eat? Om Dum Duragaya Namaha. And he pours. And when he pours, exactly what they wanted, different to the first person, they got what they wanted. And something is wrong. This Swami with the 325 students, he found something is not right. How is he doing that? Something is wrong there. You know what? I will put him to the test today. Listen. Durga Bhavani Ma Jai Jai Ambe Ma Durga Bhavani Ma Jai Jai Ambe Ma Kali Kapalini Ma Jai Jai Ambe Ma Kali Kapalini Ma Jai Jai Ambe Ambe Ma, Kali Kapalini Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma, Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma, Jaya Jaya Durga Ma, Jaya Jaya Ambe. Everybody, Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe Ma, Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Ambe, Durga Jaya Jaya. Shigadananda Swami ki Jai, Umapati Mahadeva ki. Anything they asked for, they got it. The Guru wanted to know, how is he doing this? You know what? Something is wrong. So this is what he decided to do. Come, let me tell you what I want now. And he starts to speak. You know what you want? I want a pizza. Yeah. All I like, all I could read mind, boy. I didn't even have to say anything. I want a pizza, meat, and I feel to drink something like wine. You can't disappoint the Guru. The Guru came, you call me to eat, make sure my belly full today. You have some magic pot you walking around with, no problem. But I want a piece of meat and I want some wine to drink. So he said, but you're a Swami. Hold on. And he goes back now into the little kutia and he sees the little girl standing there and she's so happy. He says, little one, that sadhu there, that Swami, he want meat and he want alcohol, he want wine. She says, okay, give me the pot. Little child took the pot and she walked up to him. Excuse me, on behalf of Pundit, what do you want? Oh, little child, I want some meat and I want some wine. You're a Swami, you're not supposed to eat meat. That's what she said to him. You are not supposed to partake of flesh and meat. What kind of Swami are you? Did you come to embarrass everybody here? And he stops and he says, hey, watch your words, you're small, who are you talking to? And she stood there and she says, well, you're the smart one. You're the one with all the knowledge. The Brahmanas and the Sadhus and the holy ones, they are not supposed to partake of flesh and meat. The holy ones, they are not supposed to indulge in alcohol. You can ask for anything that you want and you will get whatever you want to feast on, but you are not supposed to because your life is different. Devi Bhagavatam says it. Many people may think different in the world. How we think sometimes, if you have a puja, how people say it? It is not the body, it is how clean the mind is. Is that true? Have you ever heard what you eat is so you become? Yeah. So if you eat a pizza, Panditji, quack quack, eh? If you eat a pizza, quack quack, you become? What you eat, so you become. So you start to behave. So your attitudes become. That doesn't leave your system. It is not about your mind. People's mentality of today's world, that thinking of saying, you know what, I could eat, man, you don't worry. When prayers come, don't worry. It's how clean my mind is. Mind, body, spirit, consciousness, everything must be clean. In order to get 100% blessing, everything must be clean. With all the umpteen amount of prayers I would have done, even if I were to quote something, nobody could say where I'm quoting it or which house I'm quoting it from. But I remember one day I had a prayer for someone and they were doing devotion, and while they were doing devotion, nothing went right. Everything was upside down. And in the end, they came and they said, Pandit, at the end of the puja, you know what? I don't know. You sure you do a correct prayer? I see you asking me. This is the same type of prayers I'm doing for everybody. I don't know, not working for you. And then he said, well, I don't know. Well, we will see now how things go from now onwards and things. And then one of the villagers came to me and said, hey, last night everybody was drunk. Last night everybody was drunk. And while they were waking to cut the takari and peel everything, they were hungry, nobody had time to cook. I see the bucket with the... Not pain bucket, you know. The red color and the other kind of color thing. I see them bring down some bucket inside there because everybody hungry. And I said, really? And then in turn they ask, why is my prayers not working? See? When you turn to God, you go 100%. You do what you have to do the right way. Never back down from that. She says, as a Pandit, as a Swami, as a Brahmana, you are not supposed to indulge in wine and you're not supposed to partake of meat. So he stops right there and he says, well, what are you going to give me that's good enough then? He settled down a little bit. And she says, okay, I will surprise you. And she turned and she decides to give him something. When she gives it to him, she puts it in his little leaf there. And she gets up now and she's about to walk away. She goes back by the Pandit and she says, look, you can continue now, your problem is over. Continue to feed. But this Swami who heads an ashram, he has some spiritual gift. He's a Swami of an ashram. He teaches many people so many things, how to develop their mind and their third eye and so many different things. He was testing this Pandit to see if he will really get what he wanted to ask for. He didn't really want it. He was testing to see if that pot could manifest anything. And when the child walked away, he looked at everybody who is busy. And he says, you know what? I'm going to follow this child. This child is not a normal child. So he decided to follow the child. The child left everybody. The child now walked on a path and started to climb up a mountain. He started to follow the child. He saw the child climbing up the mountain and going up on this path, trekking this mountain. And he says, I go follow too. But you know what? He wants somebody to be their witness. So he comes back down quickly and he says, Pandit, where did the child come from? Pandit says, I don't know. That child just appeared. Appeared. So this is no ordinary child. Come, let's find out something. So two of them now, together, they decide to go by the Parvat. And they're about to climb up the mountain. And they're seeing this little girl climbing. And she's high above. And they're also following. When suddenly she reaches at the top and she goes into a cave. When she reaches by the cave's mouth and she walks in, she kneels down literally as though lying down on the ground and she crawls through a little hole and she goes in. And when she goes in, they want to see what is happening. They reach up at the top. They're about to peep and they want to see what is happening on the inside. And when they crawled in, they didn't see much that was happening inside because it was dark. So they decided, you know what? Let's leave. I don't think something is not right here. They came out and they stood outside. And while they were standing outside, then suddenly now, a voice from the cave was heard. And while the voice is about to speak to them, the voice was none other than the voice of Adi Shakti. The voice says at that point, Pandit Swami, today you came to look for me. Pandit, one day you were asking yourself so many questions and you wanted to know why. Today I will tell you, your devotion needs to increase. I am the Supreme Devi who came to try to build your confidence as a person. And while I'm come to build your confidence, you thought you couldn't do this. You thought you couldn't feed anybody. You thought that nothing was going right. But at the same time, she says now, don't you know who I am? They said, no. Ma, are you Durga Devi? No. Don't you know who I am? Maya, are you Lakshmi Mata? Are you Saraswati Devi? Kaun ho tum? And mother starts to speak now. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai. It is said while they're listening to the tunes of the mother. Who is this divine goddess? Listen. ज्योति से कन्या, ज्योति से कन्या, ज्योति से कन्या, ज्योति से कन्या, भक्तों को दर्शन दे गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या, भक्तों को दर्शन दे गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या, 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 भक्तों को दर्शन दे गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या, भक्तों को दर्शन दे गए रे कंजी से कन्या। भक्ति ने पूछा मैया नाम तेरा क्या है, भक्ति ने पूछा मैया, भक्तों ने पूछा मैया नाम तेरा क्या है, 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 भक्तों ने पूछा मैया नाम तेरा क्या है, वैष्णो माता, वैष्णो माता बता गाए गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या, वैष्णो माता बीत गए रे एक कन्या से कन्या। Who do we speak of? It says, भक्तों ने पूछा मैया नाम तेरा क्या है। The bhakta starts to question, नाम तेरा क्या है? What is your name? And the mother says, वैष्णो माँ, हरी वैष्णो माँ तेरा घर रे रे एक ज्योति से कन्या। She is Vaishno Devi. Where does Vaishno Devi come from? It is said Vaishno Devi Mata is one of the lineage descendants of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu and Devi Mata has come together and the descendants. Listen to the similarity. Lord Vishnu, Vaishno Devi. It is said they have come all together from one lineage. She says, I am Vaishno Devi Mata. And she says, today I have come to this Parvat to stay here. And I'll tell you why. भक्ति ने पूछा मैया धाम तेरा क्या है, भक्ति ने पूछा मैया, भक्ति ने पूछा मैया धाम तेरा क्या है, 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 भक्ति ने पूछा मैया धाम तेरा क्या है, पर्वत त्रिकुट बताए गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या, पर्वत त्रिकुट बता गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या। So the katha says, the bhajan says, it says, Bhakti ne pucha maya, dhaam tera kya hai? Where do you live? Where do you stay, ma? And the mother says, Parvat Trikuta bata gai re. Remember what was her name? Trikuta. She says, Parvat Trikuta, I live in this mountain, in this cave, and I will stay in this cave until. And they're asking why. But ma, in the name of Vaishno Devi, if we want to make an offering to you, what will we offer? Well, Jai Bhagwan, you should listen now. भक्ति ने पूछा माँ प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, भक्ति ने पूछा माँ प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, भक्ति ने पूछा माँ प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, अच्छा क्या है, प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, भक्ति ने पूछा माँ प्रसाद तेरा क्या है, हलवा पूरी चाना बता गए रे। योर है हलवा पूरी चाना, जय भगवान, हलवा पूरी चाना बता गए रे एक कथे से कन्या। The mother says, if you want to worship me, halwa, puri, chana. Who likes chana? Yeah, Naresh. Says, हलवा पूरी चाना बता गयो रे एक छोटी से कन्या भक्त को दर्शन दे गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या 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 भक्त को दर्शन दे गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या भक्तों को दर्शन दे गए रे एक ज्योति से कन्या भक्तों को दर्शन दे गए रे। Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki. The bhajan says, Ma, what is your name? Vaishno Devi Mata. Where do you stay? Parvat. Trikut hai. Between these three Parvat and mountains. I live here in this cave. High above. What do you like to eat? Halwa, puri, chana. Yeah. Offer that to me. I like that. And after they listened, but Ma, why have you come in a mountain to live by yourself? Listen now. This is something I'm sure many people wouldn't know. In the age of Treta Yuga, which deity came into existence? Which god? Treta Yuga, who stands in Treta Yuga? Shri Ram Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama. Prabhu Ram, Treta Yuga, Prabhu Ram, Dwapar Yuga, Lord Krishna, Kali Yuga, the Kalki avatar yet to come. In Treta Yuga, when Prabhu Ram was walking the earth, it is at that time where this little girl, who is the incarnation of the three goddesses when we started the Katha, this little girl, she was so in love with the form of Lord Vishnu. Vaishno Devi, Vishnu. She was in love with Bhagwan Vishnu. She left everybody from the skies and she went now to the banks of the ocean to sit down and pray and meditate and do penance. While she was sitting to do penance, in Treta Yuga, it was the same time Prabhu Ramachandra was coming. Prabhu Ram was coming along with Lakshmana, monkeys, bears, Hanuman Baba, Jamwan, Nal, Neel, everybody was coming. And while everybody was picking up a rock and they was looking, I wonder if we could use this boy, what to do? How are we going to cross this place? Prabhu Ram saw a little girl sitting in a corner by herself. Prabhu Ram walked up to her. He says, hey, Beti, kya hai? What are you doing here? She opened her eyes. She looked at Prabhu. She says, Prabhu, Ramachandra, I know you are the descendant of Mahavishnu. I have come as a descendant of Mahavishnu as well, and I am part of the three Devis. But today I have come to do penance, to wait for you. He says, what do you mean wait for me? I'm going to find my Devi, Sita Devi. We've come here and look at all these monkeys and bears. We're going to find a way to go. And this little girl, Trikuta, as she was called then, she says, Prabhu, I've always fallen in love with your form. Why don't you just come back with me? And Prabhu says to her, he says, listen, in this age, in this life, in this kalpa, I've dedicated myself with faith and with my duty towards Sita Devi. And being that I've dedicated myself to Sita Devi, I won't be able to stand on your side as a companion. And he was about to turn around. But before he turned around, she says, okay. She continued her penance. And as she's about to begin the penance, he turned around and he said, you know what? But you were praying for so long, vain. He says, so I will tell you this now. I will give you my word that my different avatars will come back. And when my avatars will come, in the last age that is called Kali Yuga, I will return in the form, before I turn to the world, I will become wed to you. But I don't want you to mix with everybody, because we must remain as powerful as we are. So find one of the tallest mountains you could find. Find a cave, and you reside there. And you stay there. Don't worry, I will find you. And she says, okay. So I will leave, and I will go. But she stayed there for that moment, and she waited for the entire episode of Ramayana to take place. When Prabhu Ramachandra had completed destroying Ravana and he was going back, he was now in the aerial car and he was passing back. When he crossed the ocean and he looked down, she was sitting there. She looked up and she waved at him and she says, I know you're successful now, but I will see you in the lifetimes to come. She decided to now find the mountain in which she would stay, and she went to the top of the mountain. She stayed inside the cave where nobody could find her. And when she sat down, it is said with tapasya and with devotion, she transformed herself into a stone so that nobody will realize who she really is. And she stayed in that form for the period of time of Treta Yuga, coming into Dwapar Yuga and into Kali Yuga. During that period of time, because she was a part and parcel of three Devis, the stone then broke into three. Kali Mata, Lakshmi Mata, and Saraswati Devi. Till today, she resides on that Parvat as Vaishno Devi Mata in the three forms. I have been there. And to go there, you take 16 hours to climb up that mountain. Where is this place located? I was going to Kashmir. People here have Kashmir. When I was growing up, my grandfather, he had gone to India and he had a little boat with a house inside. And I say, but wait now, people live in that? And he was in a part to Kashmir. And some people decide to start walking in the daytime, and by the time they reach it's night, you can't see anything. So I left 12 o'clock in the night and I started to walk. It is no easy walking, trust me. While I am walking up a hill for 16 hours, for pilgrimage, some people decide to lie down and roll up. Yeah. They're rolling because they believe this is penance, allow my body. But you could buy one, so why? Still there. You have to crawl. And there's a little hole in the when there are coconuts everywhere. You go today, by the time you almost reach up to the top, you're halfway on the mountain and you're in the line already. See? You're halfway on the mountain and you're already in the line. You can't pass anybody. And each person wants to go in, say a little prayers, maybe sing a little song, do a arti, and then leave, then the next person. So altogether, about 22 hours you will stand there just to see the mother. But scripture says she's alive and she's waiting in this age of Kali Yuga for the Kalki avatar to come and look for her. That is Vaishno Devi Mata. Today our scripture tells us that while Vaishno Devi resides there, many people of the world will go to visit her. Many great saints and sadhus, they've gone to look for her. And when they go, they will pay their salutations. They will worship her. They will give her bath. They will pay their adorations to her. And they will take their blessings. Shivrindavan Bihari Lal Ki. Jagadamba ki karo aarati. Jagadamba ki karo aarati. Jagadamba ki karo aarati. Jagadamba ki karo aarati. Aao pratibharat bharat jan. Aao pratibharat bharat jan. Aao bharat prabha aarati. Jagadamba ki karo 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 aarati. Shivrindavan Bihari Lal Ki Jai. With this, my friends, we end our beautiful katha tonight. As we end our message, in listening to the glories of the Divine Mother, it is said, the words of the Pundit and the words of the Swami travel the world, the universe, that today their story tells the truth of how the Mother went there, how she lives there, how she resides there, what is her offering, and what is she waiting on. Umapati Mahadeva ki jai. With this we end our katha. Let us all stand for final arati. सुनो मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी तेरा पार न पाया तेरा पार न पाया अरे सुनो मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी तेरा पार न पाया सुनो मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी पान सुपारी ध्वजा नारियल पान सुपारी ध्वजा नारियल पान सुपारी ध्वजा नारियल ये तेरे बेट चराया ये तेरे बेट चराया सुनो मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी तेरा पार न पाया सुनो मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी जय अम्बे सुबह चोल तेरे अंग विराजे सुबह चोल तेरे अंग विराजे सुबह चोल तेरे अंग विराजे केसर तिलक लगाया केसर तिलक लगाया सुन मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी तेरा पार न पाया सुन मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी ब्रह्मा वेर परे तेरे द्वारे ब्रह्मा वे परे तेरे द्वारे ब्रह्मा वेर परे तेरे द्वारे शंकर जाल लगाया शंकर जाल लगाया सुन मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी तेरा पार न पाया सुन मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी धानो भगत मैं तेरे गुण गाये धानो भगत मैं तेरे गुण गाये धानो भगत मैं तेरे गुण गावे मनवांचित फल पाया मनवांचित फल पाया सुन मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी तेरा पार न पाया सुन मेरी देवी पर्वतवासिनी जगदम्बा देवी ओ जगदम्बा देवी जय 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 जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा देवी जय 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 जगदम्बा देवी ओ जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा देवी जय 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 जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा भवानी जगदम्बा भवानी जय 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 जगदम्बा भवानी जगदम्बा भवानी जगदम्बा भवानी जय 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 जगदम्बा भवानी जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा देवी जय 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 जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा देवी जगदम्बा देवी जय 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 जगदम्बा देवी दुर्गा लम 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 ललिता दुम 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 दुर्गा लम 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 ललिता दुम 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 दुर्गा लम 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 ललिता दुम 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 दुर्गा लम 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 ललिता दुम 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 दुर्गा लम 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 ललिता दुम 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 दुर्गा लम 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 ललिता जय माता दी 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 Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba, Jai Jai Amba 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 Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba, Jai Jai Amba Amba Amba, Jai Jagadamba. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhusha Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva, Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jaya Bhagavati Devi Namo Varade, Jaya Bhagavati Devi Namo Varade, Jaya Bhagavati Devi Namo Varade, Jaya Papa Vinashini Bahupalade, Jaya Shomani Shumba Kapaladari, Pranamami Tu Devi Narati Hari, Jaya Bhagavati Devi Namo Varade. Jaya Bhagavati Devi Namo Varade. वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की, जगदम्बा देवी माता की, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय. Jai Jai Sitaram. Let us all take our seats. As we take our seats, we complete a beautiful night of devotion. Tomorrow once more will be our final night here, where we will be joining once more in the Gulan pages of Devi Bhagavatam and the beautiful manifestations of the Mother. So until tomorrow night, may the blessings of our Lord be with all. Please do partake of your arati, prasad, meals are